was getting 200 leads per day. Apartment complexes, that's some of the easiest money that you'll literally ever make in your life. I have a very advanced strategy I use where I sometimes do no showings whatsoever to make $2,000. One of my biggest issues early on, I literally had too many leads. $250,000 my second year. I have 800 VIP clients that I've actually closed deals on. I don't care if I lose a deal. I have 20 deals under contract this month. I'm gonna close 19 more. I'm still making $38,000. Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Andy Coleman and I'm gonna teach you guys about rentals today. So a little bit about me first, right? So I'm gonna show you how I did 30 deals in 30 days. Literally, I became the #2 ranked agent in EXP Realty by deals last year, right behind John Scalia. He's #1. And I basically went from $0 to $500,000 in commission after being in real estate for just 2 years. So I wanna talk a little bit about just some of my stats and everything because I became one of the top real estate agents in the entire world, 90,000 EXP agents, and I was #2 by doing rentals, which nobody really talks about doing rentals. You're probably told by your brokers and your team leaders and your mentors, not to do rentals, but literally I'm making about $2,000 average commission per deal, and I can actually do 30 deals in a month. So if you do the math on that, we're talking $60,000 plus every single month. And what happens if you get a buyer on top of that? So I want to really tell you guys a little bit about me. Some of my stats here, you can see #2 ranked agent last year. I did 50 deals my first year as a licensed realtor. And this is especially impressive because I was brand new to Florida, so I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a network or a sphere of influence built up whatsoever. And I made about $80,000 in commission. I realized I was onto something. I realized that this was something that works. And I was just focusing on rental deals. That was the only marketing and advertising I was doing to get leads. So my second year, I ended up doing 170 deals, and I made about $250,000 in net commission in my pocket. And that was my first time iconing. I ended up iconing actually 4 times so far in my last 4 years. But my third year, that was my most impressive year. I did 250 deals, and I actually made about $510,000 in net commission. And that's me being in real estate for 2 years, new agent, no network built up whatsoever, and I still managed to make $500,000 in commission doing rentals, which is basically unheard of. I've literally never heard of an agent that has done that before. I'm gonna ask everybody here now, has anybody heard of an agent doing that many deals in their second year of real estate? No, I've never heard of it before. 4-time icon, that's kind of my cheat code to actually reach an icon, because you guys know you have to hit 20 deals after you cap. So imagine that, right? Imagine working with buyers and sellers and being able to do 20 deals after you actually cap. That's very hard. Only 1% of EXP Realty ever reaches icon. And this is the way I do it. You could do 20 rental deals in a month, no problem at all. Yes, it is hard work, but it's easily achievable if you have the right system and right strategy, which I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna tell you guys exactly how I did this, how I got the strategy to actually be able to do 250 deals a year. My record, believe it or not, I ended up doing about 30 deals in a month, as I said before, and I made about $137,000 in commission in 30 days in 1 month. Ended up getting a buyer out of it, and it was an old renter of mine. He was one of my first rental clients, $6,000 rental, probably made $3,000 commission, which is great. It's not bad. Second year, he actually rented a property for me that was, I think it was $20,000. So I literally made a $10,000 commission just off of a rental. The following year after that, he ended up buying a house for $3.4 million. Literally made $85,000 that month in one transaction, and that's off doing rentals. If I wasn't doing rentals, I never would have gotten that buyer, wouldn't have gotten 2 rentals out of it, and I've gotten a ton of referrals from him as well. In that month, I did another 20 rentals on top of that, give or take. Literally made over $130,000 in a month by doing rental deals. I'm telling you guys, it is the most slept on niche, because that's what we're doing here, right? All the lead generation that we do, whether it's open houses, FSBOs, door knocking, mailers, whatever it is, it's all a niche. So my niche is rentals. And I'll talk a little bit later about picking one niche, and mine was rentals though. So I just want to explain a little bit about why you should be focusing on rentals right now, right? As we know, it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market, so what is it? It's a renter's market. Of course, nobody can afford to buy a house right now on average from the previous 2 or 3 years. I'm guessing I'm not doing as many purchases this year. I do about 10 purchases per year. This year, I think I've only done 7 or 8, just because nobody wants to buy, relative to what was happening in 2021, 2020. It's not a buyer's market anymore. You got to imagine, right? It's literally cheaper to rent the same equivalent property. You can rent a $500,000 house for around $3,000, $3,500 per month. If you take a mortgage with interest, taxes, insurance, all of that good stuff, you're talking at least $4,000 to $5,000. It's actually cheaper by $1,000 to $1,500 per month to rent the same equivalent house. That's why it's a renter's market. That's why I've had so much success with working with renters, because a lot of people right now, they don't feel like it's a good time to buy. We know there's literally the lowest mortgage applications since the 2008 crash. I think there's less sales going on right now since 1995. I believe that's the stat going on right now. Realistically, listings are sitting on the market for a hell of a lot longer than normal. Days on market probably doubled or tripled in the last 2 years because people are renting. And it's extremely easy to work with renters. Me personally, I do real estate part-time right now. I don't even do real estate full-time anymore. I do speaking engagements. I got a YouTube channel and this and that. And I'm still doing about 10 rentals per month. Plus, I'm getting about 1 buyer every single month from it. So I'm making about $2,000 average commission per deal that I'm doing. We're talking $20,000 just from the rentals, doing this for 2 or 3 hours a day. That's it. That's all the time I spend. It's just a lot easier now working with renters than it ever has been, especially back when there was 20, 30, 40 offers per property back in 2020. I'm sure you guys remember that back during the pandemic. There was a crazy amount of offers. It's not like that anymore. And we have such a massive amount of inventory going on right now. Just in South Florida, who here is from South Florida? Not that many people, actually. Here in South Florida, we have 30,000 rentals in our MLS. Did you know that? 30,000 rentals. Do you know how many agents actually go after the renters? Almost none. Almost none. Probably 99.9% of agents don't focus on the renters whatsoever. We have 30,000 rentals just in South Florida. I know everybody's from all over the country here, so it's going to vary per state that you're in. But just imagine that, right? 30,000 rentals in your MLS plus apartment complexes, because I do 2 strategies. I do what I call my MLS strategy with some, private properties. And then I do my apartment complex strategy. So we have another 4,000 or 5,000 apartment complexes on top of that. And no agents are doing this. I'm telling you, this rental niche is untapped. It's literally insane. There's 3 stages in the life cycle of a lead, right? There's renter, there's buyer, there's seller. I'm just not sure why most agents have been taught to skip the first stage. It's the rental stage. You could literally get 3 deals from 1 lead. You can get a renter out of it, you can get a buyer out of it, possibly right away too, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and then you can get a seller, right? And then you're gonna get a ton of referrals coming from that as well. Literally 4 out of 7 transactions for every single person's life is a rental deal. Probably even more now because people can't afford to buy. Let me talk about commission a little bit, right? So me personally, I'm making about $2,000 average commission, which I mentioned before. And that's about half a month's rent. So it's going to work different in different states, but I'm bringing in on average $2,000 because I charge a $300 transaction fee. So who here charges a buyer transaction fee, right? Who here has ever charged a rental transaction fee? You have? 2 people have. Most people don't even think about doing that, right? They just think to charge $399, $599, $499 for a buyer. What about the renters? I literally charge $300 for every single rental that I do. If I can do 250 rentals in a year and I charge $300, I don't know if I could do the math on that. It's probably $96,000 or something in extra cash just from saying $300, this is what you pay me for my transaction fee, right? So even if you do, let's say 10 deals, $300 just from those $300 times 10, it's $3,000 that you're going to make just in extra transaction fees plus the commission. So my average commission is about $1,700 plus that $300. You got to imagine, right? You're going to get a buyer. If you're doing 10 or 15 rentals a month, which is honestly, it's not that hard to do 10 or 15 rentals a month. I have a lot of agents that I know that have been familiar with my strategy that are literally doing 10, 15, 20 rentals in a month right now, and they're making $20, $30, $40, $50,000 per month, because what happens if you stack a buyer on top of that? Because I guarantee you, if you're doing that many rental deals, you're going to get a buyer. There is no way, if you're talking to that many leads, if you're working with that many clients, if you have that many referrals coming in, you're not going to get a purchase deal out of it. It's almost impossible, literally throughout my entire career. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I convert renters into buyers. I've never done a stitch of marketing for purchases whatsoever. I haven't sat open houses. I haven't sent out mailers. I haven't door knocked. I haven't cold called. I don't like cold calling personally. That's why I came up with this strategy. You're going to be talking to so many people that it's literally inevitable. You're going to get buyers from it, trust me. So what I said before about volume, right? I'm doing a lot of deals every single month. So if I'm doing that many deals, you got to imagine how many leads I have coming in, because that's one of the biggest unknown, facts about real estate. You have to have leads coming in every single day. If you want to succeed at the highest level, if you want to start making a few $100,000 plus every single year, you got to have leads every day. You cannot take days where you stop generating leads. That's what I did early on in my career, and I only did 50 deals my first year because I wasn't responding to all my leads. When I started responding to all my leads, and I'm telling you, doing a strategy like this, which I'm going to talk about in a second and let you guys know exactly how I do my strategy. At my peak, I was getting 200 leads per day, free, off of Facebook Marketplace. There are a lot of other sites that you can use, but imagine getting 200 leads a day. In 10 days, we're talking, 2,000 leads? In 30 days, that's 6,000 leads that you're going to get free off of Facebook Marketplace. Yes, they are rental leads, but it doesn't matter, because if you're in a market like South Florida or Texas or New York or some markets in California, Georgia, Michigan even, you're talking $1,500 average in most states, right? I know I make a little bit more here in South Florida. You can literally close dozens of deals consecutively every single month. It's always going to be a renter's market, and your database is going to explode. When I was down here in South Florida, I probably knew 3 people when I first got into real estate. I didn't know anybody down here. And fast forward 4.5 years later, I literally have over 25,000 people in my database, which it's not a bad amount of people to have if you've only been doing real estate for 4.5 years. I've closed well over, I think I'm at 800 and something deals in the past 4.5 years. And yes, I did start a team, but my first 500 deals, that was me as a solo agent. I did 500 deals alone with no help whatsoever. No VA, no transaction coordinator, no assistant, literally nobody whatsoever. And I did 500 deals on my own. Now I have a team. I do real estate part-time. So you're focusing on volume, right? And I'm telling you, the referrals that you're going to get from doing rentals, because you're dealing with so many people. You're talking to dozens of people per day. The amount of referrals you're going to get from that, especially once you start closing deals, they're going to, call you up out of the blue. Hey, Andy, this is John, my nephew, Randy recommended you to me because you closed a rental last month and I want to buy a house. Can you help me buy a house? It's going to happen like that literally almost every single day if you're doing the kind of volume that I'm talking about. Renters turn into buyers, right? I'm sure everybody's heard the saying, renters turn into buyers, because it's literally true. Not only can you make money now from working with the renters, but you can make money from the buyers. 1 year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, whatever it is, eventually they're going to decide to buy a house. If you help them to get into a rental when 99% of agents are probably not even wanting to pick up the phone for them or talk to them, I literally get tenants every single day tell me, oh my God, I'm shocked that you even answered the phone for me. Because most agents, they don't even want anything to do with the renter, even if it's their listing. I tell you, it's kind of sad how this worked. So you get instant loyalty. And once you get that kind of loyalty, they're like putty in your hands. These renters are going to trust you for life, especially now after the NAR settlement and all that stuff that happened. You got to sign the whole buyer broker agreement, commission agreements and all this and that. First of all, you don't have to do that with renters. The NAR had nothing to do, the Department of Justice, the whole settlement, nothing to do with rentals. I have not signed a single tenant broker agreement since August 17th, not a single one. I've done at least 20 or 30 deals since then. Not a single agreement has been signed. You can literally do probably, I would say, 5 rentals in the same amount of time it takes you to work with one buyer, right? The national average is 20 hours of work for one purchase. Now, this can vary. I've spent 40 or 50 hours on a buyer before and then all of a sudden lost the deal. It could happen. Me personally, I spend about 2 to 4 hours max for working with the renter. It's a really, really short amount of time to actually complete a successful rental deal. It's not supposed to take you 10 hours. You're not supposed to do 10 or 15 showings. It's not how it works. I literally do anywhere from 0 to 3 showings, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I have a very advanced strategy I use where I sometimes do no showings whatsoever to make $2,000. And if you do the math on that, right, imagine you're working for 2 hours on a rental deal and you're making $2,000 commission. How much are you making per hour? $1,000 an hour. Could you imagine a scenario where you think it's not worth your time to work with a tenant to make $1,000 an hour? I couldn't imagine that scenario. That's why I started doing it. $1,000 an hour, that's more than a doctor and a lawyer makes. They have overhead and expenses. I probably spend $5 on a deal. And that's just my gas if I do one showing. It's nothing. It's almost non-existent. I think we talked a little bit about no competition before, right? You're literally going to be one of the only agents in your area actually focusing on renters. There's a massive gap in the rental market, especially right now. I'm telling you, demand for rentals is so incredibly high right now. Nobody quite understands how many renters there are because, like I keep saying this over and over again, but people can't afford to buy like they used to. So they're renting right now, and no agents want to actually work with them. You're going to have more leads than you know what to do with. I have a lot of agents that I talk to that started doing my whole rental strategy, and they tell me they're overwhelmed with the amount of leads that they have. Would that be nice if you had too many leads? Would that be a good problem to have? That would be a good problem to have, right? That was one of my biggest issues early on in my career. I literally had too many leads. And I think that's why I didn't capitalize on them. I only made $250,000 my second year when I should have made more, to be realistic, because I couldn't get to all my leads. I had to create systems and processes behind this, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But once you dial in, once you figure out how to actually handle all those leads, I can get to 200 leads in like 45 minutes. I figured out ways, clipboards, scripts, templates, where I'm just rapid firing out copy and paste templates for common questions and common answers that I give out. I'm telling you, it's the easiest thing imaginable, right? Renters need to move now. Here's the thing, right? If you have a buyer, typically, I'm sure and this happened to me many, many times, more times than I can count, because I still do about 10 purchases per year, give or take. I have a buyer that tells me, let's start looking now, and I'll start setting up showings for them and everything. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we go and see a few houses. They're like, oh yeah, I need to close in June of 2025, right? That happens to me all the time. Even though I ask them beforehand, and like, I changed my mind. They don't, a lot of these buyers don't have the urge and necessity to move right away. But renters, it's not like that. The vast majority of renters that I speak to, they need to move now. Literally, I believe national average is, I think it's 26 days, according to apartments.com, 26 days for a tenant to move into a home. I literally have deals where I can get the lead, and within 24 hours, I can have shown them the property, I can have put the offer in, done the final walkthrough, and cash my commission check within 24 hours time. That's $2,000. It's very, very quick and fast money because renters, they don't need to wait. They need to move now. They got to get into a place right away. Their lease is typically up in 30 days. Right? So you just waste a lot less time if you're targeting the renters, in my personal opinion and in my experience. So consistent results. I kind of talked about this before a little bit. This is literally going to work in any market. I did this during the peak of the pandemic. I did this during a heavy seller's market. That's when I closed 250 deals in a calendar year. That was during a pandemic, and it was a heavy seller's market. And I was still able to do it. I did it during a buyer's market, and I'm doing it now during a neutral market or a renter's market. I like to call it a rentals market right now. I'm doing it right now. Literally, renters will work during any market. It doesn't matter if it's a depression, a recession, a pandemic, a buyer's market, a seller's market. It does not matter. People are always going to need a place to rent, always. But you can't say the same for buyers and sellers. Because I'm telling you right now, if this was a good market for buyers and sellers, at this point, with 25,000 people in my database, I think I have a 70,000 person lead database, plus I have 800 VIP clients that I've actually closed deals on, I should be doing 50, 60, 100 purchases per year. That's what I should be doing right now, but I'm not, because all these people that I'm talking to, all these renters that I once worked with, they can't afford to buy a house right now, and they're waiting this out. They're waiting for the interest rates to drop, the inventory to go down, and the prices to go down because it's it's way too high. It's just way too high to buy a house right now. So if you lose a purchase, right, that could potentially be your only income for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It's 100% possible that that's the only deal that you have on your plate for a month. So if you're losing $10, $15, $20,000, you're done. That's it. How are you going to pay the bills for that month? You better have some savings. You're in big trouble if you lose a purchase. But the rentals, it's not a big deal. Like I said before, you're doing volume. You know, you're closing 10, 15, 20, in my case, 30 deals in a month. I don't care if I lose a deal. Yes, it stings for 5 minutes. I get a little bit upset, but then I realize, wait a minute, I have 20 deals under contract this month. I'm going to close 19 more. I'm still making $38,000. Big deal if I didn't make $40,000 that month. Not much can go wrong when you're working with renters, but I cannot say the same if you're working for buyers. We have appraisal contingencies. I mean, I don't have to bore you guys with those details, but rentals is super easy. You sign a lease agreement, you put 1 month's rent in an escrow as a deposit, and then you do the final walkthrough. Maybe you apply to an HOA, but that's it. There's almost nothing that can go wrong. If you word it right in the contracts, you can actually, depending on state laws, because every state's going to be a little bit different, but if you put it in the contract that if the tenant backs out for any reason other than, let's say, getting denied by the HOA or the owner, pulling the plug on them, then you can keep the commission. And if everybody signs off on that, you have no risk, But if you lose a purchase, that's never going to happen. You're never going to get any kind of money. I mean, nobody's suing anybody over a purchase. I've lost purchases before, and it doesn't happen, right? 90% failure rate, right? There is literally a 90% failure rate for real estate agents within the first few years. Not in this room, because if you guys come into EXPcon trying to better yourselves and learn, you're probably a step ahead of most real estate agents. But the majority, if we put 10 random real estate agents in a room, 9 of them are going to fail. That's just a statistic. I believe the NAR came out with that stat. I think it's because most agents are going after buyers and sellers, and that's not the way to do it. If you're going after buyers and sellers with the other 1.5 million other real estate agents in this country, there is too much competition. Who's done FSBO calls? You've done FSBO calls? How many calls has that seller typically gotten that day? 10, 20? They're getting so many calls from agents. It's literally mind-blowing. And yes, there are some good agents. Ricky Carruth, for instance, he comes to mind that got really good at FSBOs, and they can separate themselves from the other 20 or 30 agents per day. They're getting hundreds of calls per month. The competition is so incredibly high when you're going after the buyers and sellers because every single agent is trying to do that. But no agents are trying to go after the renters. Even, I'm going to talk about it in a little bit for my rental listing strategy. I don't really love doing it because you have to do cold calls, but it involves for rent by owner, FRBOs, right? And guess how many calls FRBOs get? 0. Nobody calls them. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You can easily, if you don't mind cold calling, you can easily get a for rent by owner. You can get a rental listing out of it, and if you double end both sides, you get a month's rent commission. Imagine that property is $3,000. You just made $3,000, plus you're going to syndicate that on your MLS to sites like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. You're going to throw it up on Facebook Marketplace. You're going to get dozens, sometimes hundreds of leads just for that one rental listing. And if you're making, let's just say hypothetically $1,500 average in your area for getting half a month's rent, if you get, let's say 100 leads for that one property and convert 10 of them over to working with you, maybe you close 5 of them, you have literally just made $7,500 off of one rental listing, right? I think I did the math there correct. That's a lot of money to make off of getting a rental listing, okay? It's a lot different than working with buyers, and I believe that's the biggest reason why most real estate agents fail. There's just way too much competition. Also this too, if you're a new agent, I'm assuming most of you guys in here are probably not new agents. Probably not. Who's a new agent here? Oh, a lot of new agents. Oh, okay, good amount of new agents. You all should be focusing on renters first. Has anybody told you to focus on renters? No? Not a single person probably told you to focus on renters. I personally believe that's the wrong advice. What area are you in? In Jersey. So how it works in Jersey, you guys do get half a month's rent commission. Here's the thing. The tenant pays the commission, typically. It still works. I've talked to a lot of agents in Jersey. They're doing, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rentals a month. They're going to get half a month's rent commission. Your rent is very high there. Average 3-bed in Jersey, I think is $3,000 probably. Probably a little bit more. You're going to make $1,500 plus charge them that $300 transaction fee. You just made $1,800. You do 10 of those in a month. You just walked away with $18,000 in your pocket, and nobody's doing it. Nobody is doing it, okay? It typically takes 9 months to close your first deal. I closed my first purchase, I think, in 2 months or 3 months as well, but I got it from a rental. It literally came from a rental lead of mine. I closed, I think it was 5 or 6 purchases in my very first year, and they were all from rental leads, okay? And I truly believe if agents went after the renters instead, you would close more purchases, especially in your first year as a real estate agent. Me personally, if I was buying a house and I had the choice between a brand new agent that's never done a transaction ever in their life, and I'm about to spend $500,000 on the biggest purchasing decision of my life, I wouldn't trust a brand new agent. I just wouldn't. And I had that same thought when I got into real estate. I said, well, if I'm not going to trust me, why would somebody else trust me? So I found a different way. That's why. It's a big reason why I started working with the renters. I didn't think it was feasible, especially for a seller, going into a listing presentation with no experience. It's tough. But for rentals, I'm telling you, you can literally close a rental in your first week. Literally, I've had a lot of agents, because I have a YouTube channel, and I speak about this on my YouTube channel. I'll give you, it's just Andy Coleman on YouTube. I have a second channel, Andy Coleman Real Estate up. You guys can follow, but I have a lot of agents that were brand new or just getting their license. They saw some of my YouTube videos, and they reached out to me and said, oh my God, I closed a deal in my first week of being a realtor. Or I closed a deal within 30 days of me seeing one of your YouTube videos talking about rentals. And before that, they were like you guys, 9 months, 10 months, 0 deals. They couldn't close any deals. I'm telling you, agents are going about this the wrong way. It's just my opinion, but I've had a lot of success by working with the renters. You got to remember too, relocating clients, right? So you got a lot of people relocating, especially if you're in these big, areas like Miami, Palm Beach, or Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas. North Carolina is another big one. A lot of people are moving out of California, New York, coming from Canada. They're moving from a lot of these states. I mean, a lot of people are moving back now, especially from Florida. But a lot of these clients that you could potentially be working with, they're typically not going to buy a house the very first, month or year that they get into a state. It's probably not going to happen. Like they want to rent, they want to try out the area, they want to make sure they like it. So if I had somebody moving here from New York and they're packing up, their whole entire life, their 3 kids, and they're like, I don't know if I'm going to like Boca Raton. I don't know if this is going to be a fit for me. They're probably not going to buy a house. I mean, in my experience, they don't. They say, listen, I want to rent first. I want to really feel out the area. I want to see if I even want to live in Boca. Maybe I want to live in Miami. Maybe I want to move to Orlando. Maybe I want to move to Texas. I don't know. But I don't want to get stuck with a house because we all know right now for house prices are coming down. Austin, Texas, as an example, they're down 22% since 2022. Imagine that. You buy a home in 2022 and you have to sell because you're just testing the area out and you lose 22% on $1 million home. You're talking $220,000 in 2 years out the window. So a lot of people want to rent instead. They don't want to take that risk. So they rent. So all these clients that are relocating, these potential leads, they're renting. And if you're not working with renters, you're losing an entire segment. You're losing a ton of people that are moving to a new state. And guess what? If you do a good job with the rental, not only are they going to refer you to other families that they might know in your area or know that want to move and relocate down to your area, they're going to buy a house with you within the next year, right? Because they probably do want to buy. A lot of them want to buy, and they will use you. If you do a good enough job, they're going to use you to buy a house, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Momentum, right? So we kind of talked about this before, about being a brand new agent and not having any deals under your belt or anything like that. You're probably nervous, you don't have the kind of experience that you would want to even talk to a buyer and seller. Because guys, I still love working with buyers and sellers. I just got a listing for $900,000. Guess where that listing came from? Rental. It was literally a renter that they had to move about an hour away up north, and I was trying to help them find a rental property. This was last week, actually. And they were like, listen, I know this might be a little bit early, but, son's surgery's coming up, and we want to move a little bit closer to his doctor. Well, we don't know what to do with our house. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? What house? Is your lease up? And they said, no, we own the house. We've owned it since 2015. First of all, they're locked in at an amazing rate, so can't go wrong. If I list that house, they have so much room, that house, and I did get the listing, it's not going to sit on the market for a while because I have so much room to play with there. But It came from a rental lead. Literally, they came to me to rent. They just briefly mentioned they have a house that they don't know what to do with, and I convinced them to sell it. They were thinking about renting it out, becoming a landlord. I gave them the options. That's one thing which I'll talk about in a little bit. I don't like to force anybody. I don't like to sell somebody to make a decision, right? I present the facts, and then sometimes if they ask for my opinion, I'll say, oh, well, knowing that you want to move up north, you have no plans to come back down south a little bit, what do you think is going to happen with the market in 2 years? And they were like, well, it looks like it's going down. I'm like, yeah, we're down here in South Florida. It appears like we're going down. I think we've dropped about 11% in the past 12 months. So we're losing about 1% on the value of a home in 12 months. So I let them know this, and I said, what do you think is going to happen in 1 or 2 years if you decide to be a landlord and sell then? Because they didn't want to be a landlord forever. And they said, we're probably going to lose a lot of money. We're going to lose 20% value on our $800,000 home. So they said, you know what? Let's sell the house. And of course they used me. I got the listing agreement signed. That's a $22,000 commission. If I get both sides, it's $40,000. That's a lot of commission, and it all came from my rental leads, my rental strategy that I'm about to talk to in a little bit, right? But let me tell you, if you start closing a lot of deals, right, the endorphins are gonna start pumping and flowing. You're gonna feel so good. Can anybody imagine cashing a check almost every day? The month I did 30 deals, I literally cashed a check every day. Got a deal under contract every single day. I was on cloud 9. I was so happy that month. Every month I'm basically happy because I'm closing at least 20 deals. When I'm doing real estate full time, I'm closing at least 20 deals a month. So you're getting a deal accepted almost every day. You're not waiting, a month, 2 months, 3 months to work with a buyer. It's discouraging. I think it's discouraging. I've honestly never had, that experience before because I've been doing rentals since the beginning of my career. I could imagine. Is it discouraging? Is it discouraging? You said you didn't close a deal for 10 months. It's discouraging. We all know it's discouraging if you're not closing any deals. You're putting in hard work, you're putting in effort, you're putting in time. Not only are you not making money, you're losing money. You're paying MLS fees, you're paying brokerage fees, you're paying gas, you might be paying marketing. You're losing money. It literally doesn't make sense. Even if you're in a market where you could only make, let's say, I'll give you an example, Orlando, Florida, right? We make about half month's rent commission down here in South Florida. Orlando, Florida doesn't. They make about, I would say on average, $300 to $500 per tenant that you bring. You do get a month's rent, so if you do rental listings, you will get a month's rent. If you only make, let's say, $300, but you charge a $300 transaction fee, you're still making $600. I would personally think, even in a market like that, it's worth it. You do 10 deals in a month, you'll make $6,000. If we're saying $300 the average rental commission, which is not that much, honestly, you're still going to make $6,000 for doing 10 deals, and you'll probably get a buyer out of it as well. Another $10,000. You just made $16,000 from doing 10 rentals in a market that only pays $300 for renters. I personally think that's better than losing money every single month. I don't know about you guys. I think that's better than losing money. That's just me, though. Not only is this fast cash, think about it this way, right? What I said before. 25,000 people in my database. When it switches over to a buyer's market, how many buyers do you think I'm going to get? On average, you should, if you're doing it correctly, you're doing the 369 method, meaning you're checking in with your renters every 3 months, every 6 months, every 9 months. Hey, how's it going? Can I help you at all? 9 months especially, their lease is about to be up. Hey, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to move again? Whatever it is, right? You're setting up a massive, massive database of potential buyers that can sustain you long term. And then what happens when your renters turn to buyers? Your buyers will then turn to sellers, right? So that's another phase as well. We're talking, 20-year real estate career here. You capitalize on the renters now. I've been in this almost 5 years now, and I still do renters to this day. I still work with, doing rental deals to this day because I think it's that valuable. I'm not passing up making $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour. I'm not passing that up. I don't care how long, I don't care how many deals, I don't care how much money I'm making. I'm still gonna do rental deals until the very end of my career. Whenever I decide to retire, I'm gonna be doing rental deals until the very end. That's just me personally, right? Because I'm telling you right now, if you set up a big enough database and you have, let's say, we enter into a buyer's market, every 1 percentage point that the interest rates, the mortgage rates drop, it triggers 3 million buyers to enter the market. What are we at today? 6.8% or something like that, I believe. If it goes down to 5.8%, 3 million buyers enter the market. If it goes down another percentage point to 4.8%, another 3 million buyers enter the market. Now, all of your renters, let's say you close 100 renters in a year and you do that for 3 years, you have 300 renters, right? If you get 30% of them, I don't know if I can do the math on this, that's probably, we'll say 90 purchases. You can get 90 sales out of that. If you're doing everything correctly, the 369, the weekly constant contact email that you're gonna send out, you can literally get possibly 90 buyers in a year when it switches over to a buyer's market. That's a lot of money. That's $900,000 in commission if we take $10,000 average. That's a lot of money to make. It sets up a long-term business. I'm telling you, it's not just quick cash. You're also doing this for the future. I don't need to generate new rental leads. I can still make a living right now. I don't choose to because I want to grow every single year, so I still generate leads, but I don't really have to. I get referrals all the time. I get repeat business all the time. I don't have to do it, but I wouldn't grow, so I still do. But if you work with enough renters, I'm telling you right now, you will literally have a book of business. Yeah, I don't know if we can sell it as a real estate agent. I know insurance agents can do that, but you'll have enough business to sustain yourself for 10, 20 years just from that, right? All right, this is the good stuff. So I'm gonna tell you how to actually do a rental deal right now, right? Has anybody not done a rental deal? Okay, a few of you guys haven't actually done a rental deal. So I'll briefly go through how to actually do one really fast because they're super simple. First step is generating a rental lead, right? And I'll talk about how exactly I generate all of my leads, literally my hundreds of leads per day, thousands of free leads per month. You wanna start generating rental leads first, right? Then you're gonna take that rental lead and you're gonna turn it into a client of yours, okay? Then set up a showing if they qualify. Very, very simple and easy. Put in an offer. If they like the property, you put in an offer. You're gonna do a credit background eviction report, rental application, proof of income, and driver's license, right? You're gonna write up a simple standard contract to lease if you have that in your state. It's basically just a pre-offer. That's it right there. It's the full package, right? You're gonna want, 3 bank statements, 3 pay stubs, tax returns, offer letter, something like that for proof of income. And then you're gonna send that in to the listing agent, right? You're gonna negotiate with the listing agent just like you would a normal buyer, but it's not gonna be as much pressure, it's gonna be kind of laid back a little bit more, and you're gonna try to get them accepted. If they get accepted, you're gonna sign a lease agreement. That's it. The listing agent will typically send you a lease agreement. You're gonna get it signed, signatures done, maybe go over it with them. It takes 5-10 minutes. It's no time whatsoever. If you have to do an HOA application, that's okay. You help the tenant out with the HOA application and just cross your fingers and hope they get accepted. Then you do a deposit. First month's rent held in escrow. That's typically used for your commission. I mean, that could be held many different ways. Don't mess around with holding escrow money though. So make sure, whatever state you're in, you're doing it by the book, obviously. But the listing agent can hold it. The owner of the property can hold it. You can put it into a title company. We have things like for EXP Realty, we have something really cool called Deposit Link. We can literally hold our commission in Deposit Link. And I do this a lot where I'll get a deal accepted and I'll ask the listing agent, I'll say, hey, is it cool if I hold half a month's rent as a deposit? You hold half a month's rent with Remax or whatever brokerage you're with, and I will get it through Deposit Link and literally hold it as my commission. So once the deal closes, I don't even have to worry about picking up a commission check. And that's it. You're literally done. You're done. All you got to do is a final walkthrough. You meet them at the property, make sure the property's in the same condition it was during the showing, the initial showing, and exchange the last 2 months, typically it's last in security, for the keys and get paid. Get your commission check right then and there. We're with the EXP Realty. All we got to do is upload a quick picture to SkySlope and they'll pay you in sometimes a couple hours. Literally pay you within a couple hours. MLS strategy. So that's how you do a rental, right? Just in general. I want to actually speak on how I do my MLS strategy. This is the meat and potatoes of how I make so much, how I close so many deals, make so much commission every year. You're going to start on your MLS for this, right? So I have 3 strategies I'm going to talk about today. One is my MLS strategy. The second one's my apartment locator strategy. Third one is my rental listing strategy. This one is my bread and butter. I love doing MLS properties. Apartment complexes, that's some of the easiest money that you'll literally ever make in your life. I've done some apartment complex deals where I'm talking a half an hour of work, 45 minutes of work, and I'm getting paid $1,500. I'll talk about that in a second, but MLS properties, I like the challenge of it personally. I feel like I get more buyers out of it. I convert more renters to buyers because don't forget, you can turn active renters right now into buyers. And I think the MLS strategy is the best way to do it. You can literally, if you have a renter, because you have a lot of renters that will basically come to you and say, hey, I want to rent a property, but they don't realize that they can actually be approved to purchase a house. 30% of buyers have a debt to income ratio that will qualify them to purchase a home. But sometimes they think they need 20% down. They don't realize they can get away with 5% down, 3.5% down, 10% down, whatever the case may be. You can convince an active renter, especially if they're looking for like a single family home, into an actual buyer. So starting on the MLS here, right? You're gonna go on your MLS, you're gonna log in, and you're gonna find, so we have something called Any Broker Advertise. Does anybody have anything similar to that in their MLS? I didn't think so. Wait, who's here from South Florida? Have you recognized Any Broker Advertise in the MLS? You know what that is? You can advertise that property basically, on Facebook Marketplace or something, and you can get rental leads to bring it to that listing. Did you know you were able to do that? That's how I do all my business. That's it. It's literally that simple. Now, obviously, doing hundreds of deals a year, getting the commission up this high, that takes a little bit of practice. That took me a couple years to really master it, but it's literally that simple. If you don't have it in your MLS, it doesn't matter. It does not matter at all. I've talked to agents across the entire country, and I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is ask for permission. So you basically reach out to a listing agent and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Listing Agent, I want to advertise your rental listing, and you can throw it up on Facebook Marketplace or wherever they allow you to advertise it, but typically that's a good free one. And I spent the better part of my career on Facebook Marketplace, and like I said before, literally getting up to 200 free leads a day just off of Facebook Marketplace. It's free. It's not a paid ad. You can boost posts and things like that, but 100% free. Get permission to advertise their rental listing. Most of these agents are gonna be thrilled that you're reaching out to them because they want nothing to do with their own rental listing for whatever reason. They don't want the rental leads for whatever reason. They're allergic to making $500 an hour. I don't know why. Beats me. Pick the listing, right? You're gonna pick a listing that they cannot afford not to click on, right? We're talking, if we're doing 3-bed, 2 baths, not something outrageous that's $5,000 or $6,000 or $20,000. We're talking like a $3,000 price point that, quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, vaulted ceilings, nice new floors, a private pool in the backyard, the works, right? If you pick a property like that to advertise and you get permission to do it, you're gonna get hundreds of leads just from that one property. I've had properties that I've literally gotten thousands of leads just from one single property. Thousands of leads. Maybe it stays on the market for 2 weeks. And if I get 100, 200 leads a day from that one property, it's 100% possible, right? You're gonna pick that listing and then you're gonna post it on a site like, we'll just say Facebook Marketplace, for example, right? You're gonna post it on Facebook Marketplace, and all you have to do is respond to the leads. If you're using Facebook, you're gonna get messages, let's say, every single day on Facebook Messenger, and all of these leads are gonna be reaching out to you asking one simple question: is this property available? That's basically all they're gonna ask you, right? Maybe they'll say, can I set up a showing for this property? But they're typically gonna ask, is it available? So you're gonna respond to them, yes, it's available. Can I help you set up a showing? Something like that, right? But you're gonna talk to them, engage in a conversation, and you're gonna try to get them as an actual client of yours. You wanna convert that lead over into a client, right? If that one single property doesn't work out, that's not a big deal. You can show them other properties. Set them up in your MLS, right? If you convert them over to working with you and you set them up on a subscription in your MLS, if you set them up on an ASAP subscription, I'm sure you guys, know what that is, you're gonna have basically, 1 to 5 or 10 emails being sent out per day for any new rental that pops up on the market. It's basically like a built-in CRM where you don't have to do anything. So they're gonna think you're putting in all this time and effort, sending them properties every single day. You're gonna look like a superstar and they're gonna be loyal to you, right? So set them up in your MLS, and then you wanna make sure that if the initial property didn't work out, because you're gonna obviously go and do a showing for that property, if it didn't work out, just show them other properties that are in the MLS that they like. And like I said, I'm only doing 0 to 3 showings per renter that I'm working with. That's all I'm doing right now. I'm not running around doing a million showings. You don't have to. They're not buying a house, right? If you take control and you're the expert and you guide them along, there's no reason. If they pick 10 different properties that they want to see, there's no reason. Probably 7 of them are going to look identical. So pick their top 3 favorite, go and show them those 3 properties. And if they don't like their top 3, okay, maybe show them a 4th, right? I haven't done 4 showings for somebody in Years. It's been a long time. So once they like the property, or if they like multiple properties, I have a little trick that I use. I use Rentspree. It's universally accepted down here in South Florida. You can use any service that you want, that's accepted in your area. I like Rentspree. It does the credit background eviction report, the rental application. I get their proof of income and their driver's license right from Rentspree, so I love them personally. You're going to get that full package, and you're going to go over the terms, right? Because you're going to write up a contract to lease or whatever you have in your area. You might have some other kind of pre-offer. It's basically the contract before you enter into a lease agreement, right? We call it a contract to lease here in Florida. The price, when they want to move in, do they have bad credit? You might want a co-signer. You might want to offer a double security deposit. So first, last 2 security deposits, right? I literally help tenants all the time that have 500, 400 credit scores all the time, because we do things like that. We'll offer first, last 2 securities. That's 4 months to move in. That's a lot of money, but some of these tenants, they'll do it. They'll do it, and all you got to do then is put the offer in and negotiate with the listing agent to try to get them accepted. Once you get them accepted, you enter into, we kind of talked about this before, the lease agreement, right? They'll send a lease agreement out once they sign the pre-offer. They'll send you the HOA application. You basically just go through the entire HOA application with them, really briefly. It's usually just 1 or 2 pages that you have to go over with them. Make sure they get that submitted, and then you collect a deposit. First month's rent held in escrow. Last and security are typically brought to the final walkthrough. Once you go to the final walkthrough, that's it. You're giving them the keys. They're bringing the final move-in funds, and you're getting paid. You're literally going to make, depending on your area, could be $500, could be $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. In my case, the most I've made off a rental is $10,000. It really, really depends and varies. But here's the key, right? You're not just working with one renter at a time. When I was in my peak doing this full time, and I'm working 10, 12 hours a day doing this. That's how I was able to do 250 deals. I'm working like a madman. I mean, you could probably attest, my fiance over here. How much did I work? A lot, right? It takes hard work. The deals themselves takes a couple hours to do. They're simple, but if you want to do a mass volume, you got to work hard. So I'm basically just rinsing and repeating. I'm just doing a lot of these deals all at the exact same time. I have days where I could be putting in 10, 20 offers a day. Literally putting in 10, 20 offers a day. It takes me 2 minutes to write up an offer. It's very fast and easy. I have a very, very advanced method that I use, which I don't really recommend unless you kind of know what you're doing, your experience, where I'll basically pre-screen them first, kind of like a pre-approval if you're working with a buyer. Would anybody show a purchase, like if you're working with a buyer, would anybody show a buyer a house without a pre-approval? No. I do not, me personally, I don't show any renter a property unless I've gotten that credit and background report. Unless I've gotten that, I refuse to do a showing, right? And I lose some tenants that way. I have a pretty good success rate of doing it. I didn't do that early on in my career, right? But that's when I was only closing 50, 170 deals a year. Once I started doing that, that's what got me up to closing 250 deals, was by making sure that they're pre-qualified, right? I get them pre-approved first. I send a pre-offer to the listing agent to make sure the owner's going to say, yes, I accept you. And remember, you could scare off tenants if you do this the wrong way and you come across it the wrong way. They might get scared and they might not do it. So a lot of tenants will want to see a showing first. I've done hundreds of deals. I'm very good at doing that now. So, ease your way into that. Don't, do the showings first. Get frustrated, waste your time. It's okay. I've been there, wasted a ton of time in the past. It's fine, and then once you get frustrated enough, then you can start doing that. And they're like, no, I'm not going to do a showing anymore. I want my Rentspree application or whatever whatever kind of my smart move or whatever you want to use, right? I want that first. I want to make sure you're going to get accepted, especially if they have 500 credit. You might have to apply to 5, 10 different properties, maybe more sometimes if they have 500 credit. So why are you wasting your time doing 10 showings or 5 showings when they're going to get accepted to one place? Doesn't make sense. Didn't make sense to me. I stopped doing it. But it took me years to actually get to that point, right? All right, apartment strategy. I'm sure everybody's heard of apartment locating before. Basically, this is where you're going to be using apartments.com, and you're going to be getting a whole bunch of apartment complexes to let you advertise their apartment complexes. So this is different than MLS properties. This is different than, listing agents and private landlords. This is one conglomerate that owns an entire building of 1,000 properties, 2,000 properties, whatever the case may be. get permission to advertise that apartment complex and build a spreadsheet. Build a list, of all the apartment complexes in your area and make sure they pay a referral commission or rental fee to a real estate agent. They might give you a full month's rent, especially new apartment complexes that are offering specials, 1 month free, whatever the special is. They're likely to give you a full month's rent or at least half a month's rent or at least $1,000 for bringing a tenant to them. And it's the easiest money you're ever gonna make in your entire life because all you have to do, you show up to the property. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but you basically show up to the property and you drop them off with the leasing manager, leasing worker, whatever. Do the showing with them really quick. And they do everything. You don't do a lease agreement. You don't do an HOA application. You do nothing. They do all of it for you, right? So once you advertise those properties, it's very similar to the MLS strategy where you're gonna pick a really nice one. Here's where it differs a lot though, right? For this strategy, you can take a reel, you can take a short little video and you could throw it up on Instagram, you can throw it up on TikTok, you can put it up on, your Facebook. This is a little bit different than taking pictures and putting it up on Facebook Marketplace or, other sites like Zillow and stuff like that where you can't do a reel. You can take a reel of the complex, set up an appointment, go there, talk to the leasing manager. And if you take a reel and you do it the right way and it comes out nice, you might get 50,000 views, 10,000 views. And if you start putting up enough reels of these apartment complexes that pay realtor commissions, especially 1 month's rent, you can have people, you set up a Google lead sheet, you'll get DMs. If you put your phone number on there, you're gonna have people calling you all day long. You're gonna get leads from doing this, just from doing a reel and making an Instagram page for it, right? Or you could do photos, right? Or you could do both. Go to the complex, take a reel, put it up on Instagram, make a separate account for it if you want. I recommend doing that. That's the smartest way to do it. Then also take some photos and pictures and you could put it up on Facebook Marketplace and get leads that way too. So it's kind of like a dual way to get leads for this apartment strategy. And you can do it for MLS properties, but I haven't found the same kind of success as doing it with apartment complexes. All you're gonna do is respond to the leads, depending on how you get them, if they're calling you, if they're Google Leads form or DM or Facebook Messenger, just respond to the leads, set up a dialogue, set up a conversation, make sure they qualify for that apartment complex that they're reaching out about, because some of these complexes, they're gonna have 650 credit minimums, 3 times the rent and income. Some will, some won't have that. So all you basically have to do is make sure they qualify. If they don't qualify, that's why I told you to build a spreadsheet before, because you can take all of the apartment complexes that have lesser qualifications and then set them up with that showing instead. Take them to a different apartment complex, right? In case that place doesn't work out, like I said, take them to another complex that does work out. Once you go there, they're literally gonna do the application with the leasing office. You're not gonna have to worry about any of that. They do the application there, and all you have to do is basically give your W-9 and your invoice once they get approved, obviously, by the leasing office. You give them your W-9, your invoice. It's a good idea to give them your business card beforehand as well, and then you get paid within 30 days of them moving in. I like the MLS strategy a little bit better, especially if you need fast cash, because you get paid immediately right when you do the final walkthrough. But if you're doing the apartment strategy and you have time to wait, it's usually 30 days on average, right? And same thing as the MLS strategy. You're rinsing and repeating. You're just doing this over and over and over and over again, and you're working with many, many clients at the same time, right? All right, rental listings. So if you guys want to get easy rental listings, I despise doing this just because I think it's easier to work with tenants personally. But if you want to get a rental listing, it's basically doing the same thing as FSBOs except for rent by owner. And I briefly talked about this before. You can call FRBOs, canceled, expireds, any kind of listing, that basically is in your MLS or RedX or Zillow that didn't go through. You can try to get that rental listing and try to get a listing out of it, right? And you can get 1 month's rent commission from doing that. We talked about it before. Hardly anybody is actually doing this right now, so you're not gonna have a lot of competition. You could do other things like split it, 50-50 when you get the listing with the tenant if you want to. You can keep, if it's a $3,000 rental listing, you can keep $2,000 for yourself, give $1,000 to a tenant agent. You could choose on actually what you want to do. Totally up to you. Listen, here's the thing. If they don't bite for the rental listings, I've had this happen before where they're like, I don't want to list it with a real estate agent. Just say, hey, what if I bring a tenant your way? What if I just bring you a tenant? Then you got an off-market rental listing where you can say, hey, can I get half a month's rent commission for bringing you a tenant? And if they say yes, fantastic. You have a lot of leads coming in from my MLS and apartment strategy. So now you can get an off-market listing where you can get half a month's rent commission. And then there's like almost no competition because not that many other tenants or agents really know about it, right? Another way to do it You can offer a flat rate where you're basically saying, hey, I'll put this up on the MLS for you. Just give me $300 or $500 or $200, whatever you come up with. And this way you'll get leads from it, right? Because if you put it up on your MLS, it's going to syndicate to all these sites, and you can throw it up on Facebook Marketplace at that point, right? And you'll get the tenant leads, so you can do the other two strategies where you can actually get all these tenant leads into apartment complexes or other MLS properties. And you can get, if you're like me, $2,000 average commission per deal. It's going to vary per area, obviously, but you're going to have a lot of leads coming in just from getting your own rental listings, and you can get a full month's rent commission. I don't like doing it, again, because you have to cold call, and I don't really like cold calling personally. I would rather do my MLS strategy or my apartment strategy where they're warm leads. They're reaching out to me. They're asking me for help. They're saying, hey, can you help me find a property, right? It's not like cold calling, but they're not going to have many agents calling them, so they're not going to be annoyed. You're going to get rejected way less. So just keep that in mind for rental listings. Now, I'm going to briefly go over tips to succeed, right? Just a lot of the reasons why I've been able to become the #2 ranked agent, why I've done so many deals. I've iconed 4 times in 4 years. A big reason why is I picked a niche, right? Mine just happened to be the rental niche, but I imagine in my head, I wanted to become so good at just one thing that every agent around me seemed like an amateur. I'm the expert in the area now. Everybody knows that I'm the rental king around here. All the tenants are coming to me because they know I do the best work for rentals, right? So I got so good that I forgot all the other niches. I haven't done any advertising for anything else. I've never done open houses or FSBOs. I said it before. I've never done it before. I don't have to. I got so good at one niche. The riches are in the niches. Remember that, guys. I'm telling you. I don't care what you do. Pick one niche only. I don't care if you don't do the rentals, whatever. If you don't do them, that's fine. Pick one niche only and master that. If you want to be the king of FSBOs, do it. Just one niche only. Do not spread yourself too thin. Jack of all trades never got anybody rich, right? At least not right away. You got to master it first. Then you can start expanding. Communication as well. You got to learn how to communicate. Be positive. Don't be a robot and be bland. Don't be low energy. Don't be negative all the time. It doesn't work, right? You got to learn how to communicate with people. It's a big reason why I was able to get my conversion rate up really, really high and close all of these deals, because people enjoy talking to me because I'm passionate about what I do. I love helping people. I love working rental deals. I love helping buyers and sellers. And they can tell, even on the phone, they can tell that I'm smiling and energetic. I'm walking around talking with my hands. They can literally tell that through the phone. That will make a world of difference. Subconsciously, they'll know, they'll understand that you care, and they'll want to work with you, and they'll be way more loyal, right? Working hard. You can see here on screen, I did 223 deals. I actually did 250 that year. I think that was in 2022, if my memory is starting to correct. They didn't count my last 15 deals. It was at the end of the year or something like that. I did that in 1 year as a solo agent, okay? As a solo agent, I did that many deals because I worked hard. I worked very, very hard. I didn't turn my phone off at 5 o'clock at night. I didn't take off the weekends. I just had an agent that I put in a rental offer to just yesterday. She texted me this morning. She said, "Oh, sorry, I don't work Sundays." I looked her up in the MLS, and she's done 3 deals, I think, in the past year. Of course, if you're taking off the weekends, you're not going to do that many deals. If you're turning your phone off at 5 o'clock, this is a 24/7 business. Treat it that way, right? Get organized. You don't have a boss. You don't have anybody telling you what to do. Your clients are your boss, right? You really, really, really want to get organized, though. That's one thing that really excelled my growth. My spreadsheets have spreadsheets, right? I literally started creating systems and processes for every little thing that I did. And once I started doing that, I took off like you wouldn't even believe. That was my second year in real estate. I jumped from 50 deals in my first year, which I know sounds like a lot, but only 80,000 in commission, to 170 deals in my second year because I got organized and did everything else that I'm talking about as well, right? And I worked smart. You can see here how many contacts I now have on my constant contact. Over 22,000 contacts right now in 4.5 years because I started to work smart, right? I literally created systems and processes. I started shaving off so much time for everything I did, where it once took me, let's say 5 minutes to put an offer in. Now it takes me 45 seconds. I've timed myself. I got smart. I thought in my head, right? Is there a better way I can be doing this? And I think about that for everything. Am I being efficient? Am I wasting time here? Could I do this better? If you start thinking like that, and if you start shaving off precious seconds to every little thing that you do, it's going to add up to saving hours per day. what would happen if you save hours per day? You can use that to close more deals, or you could use that to relax. I don't like relaxing, I like working, so I close more deals, And I use clipboards for everything. If you guys aren't familiar with clipboards, you have clipboards in your phone, especially if you have a Google phone. You can literally copy and paste templates that you predetermine what you want to say, and you can fire it out without even having to copy and paste it from like a note section, right? Clipboards, very, very important. Last thing here, follow-ups, right? You want to follow up to every single person every single day. I go through my phone, and within the last 24 hours, I do it usually at 12 o'clock every day, I will follow up with every single person that I've talked to on the previous day. I don't care what I said to them, I read the last message, and I'll follow up with them. I literally increase my business by 30% by doing this. There's a saying about follow-ups, I can't remember what it is, but you will really, really thank me just for doing follow-ups. If everybody takes one thing away from this today, just follow up to everybody from the previous day and watch how much business that you will close, because you will probably add anywhere from 10 to 30% to your business just by doing a simple follow-up. Mindset, we talked about that before, right? But I want to talk about problem solving, because problem solving is so drastically important. You're going to have so many issues. I probably had 5 problems just in the drive from Boca up to Miami today. You're gonna have so many problems and issues. Guys, it's a sales career, right? We're basically very high level problem solvers. You're gonna have issues pop up all the time, constant, nonstop. You gotta get creative, think outside the box, and solve these problems. Do not get discouraged. I always like to think of a problem as, yes, please give me another. Literally, in the very beginning, I would get discouraged. I would get a problem, get upset, get angry. Oh, why me? Now I don't think of it that way anymore. I think of a problem as, this is my chance, this is my opportunity to prove myself, right? I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to become a better version of myself, and the way to do that is by failing. That's really the way. You fail, and then you succeed, right? So problems, don't treat them as the enemy. They're really a friend. They really are. If you guys want a copy of my slide deck, just reach out to me. I'm going to put my socials up on screen. Follow me on YouTube, right? I have 2 channels. One is Andy Coleman. Somehow I got that handle on YouTube. And then I kind of made a new channel like a month or 2 ago just to talk about real estate stuff. I do some other things on my main channel. But my second channel now, it's Andy Coleman Real Estate. And I talk about my rental strategies. I talk about everything that I basically talked about on stage, but a little bit more in depth, right? So follow me on YouTube, Andy Coleman Real Estate, and then follow me on Instagram at @TheAndyColeman. And that's about it.